Introducing a completely redesigned experience that you can sense. And that senses you. The new Dell Latitude laptops bring your work closer to you.
Tonight, hey funny man John Blackman dies of a heart attack aged 76. Livinia Nixon leads our special tribute.
The heartbroken family of a Lara toddler demand answers over a broken fence after he drowned on a neighbour's property.
The Clunes man charged with stealing $60,000 from a murder victim's GoFundMe account.
Never before seen footage of Greg Lynn shown to the jury as it's revealed he will be called as a witness.
The Reserve Bank governor grilled on the chance of another interest rate hike as the economy flatlines.
And it's state against state, mate against mate, as Game 1 of Origin kicks off tonight.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Alicia Loxley and Tom Steinfort.
Good evening. John Blackman, the man who made millions of Australians laugh on Hey Hey It's Saturday, has died aged 76.
Renowned for his lightning-fast wit as a much-loved radio personality and television comic, he's probably best remembered for his cheeky character, Dickie Knee. Tony Jones compiled this tribute.
He was TV and radio's quintessential funny man who, even in the face of adversity, continued to find a funny side.
They didn't take out the motor, it's just the exhaust sounds a little bit woofy.
In 2019, Blackman was diagnosed with an aggressive skin cancer. Surgeons forced to remove his jaw. But far from retreating from public life, he continued to live it to the fullest. A fortnight ago, Blackers was at the launch of an art exhibition by former Hey Hey It's Saturday colleague Andrew Fife. A generation was brought up on Hey Hey. Blackman, in the confines of his upstairs audio booth, firing off those rapid one-liners.
Have a go, make my day, come on.
His ribbing of Molly Meldrum became legendary.
Which number? City number 4. Gee, you go through a lot of dogs. Has the RSPCA heard about this?
Molly today telling 9 News, "I'm deeply saddened by the loss of my dear friend John. John was an amazing person. I loved him dearly." But it was another cast member who further propelled Blackman to national stardom.
You need a spanking.
Oh, yes, please. Come on.
Dickie Knee, a head on a stick, gave Blackers a licence to work a little blue.
This is Dickie Knee. Nice to meet you, Dick.
How you doing? Nice to meet yours as well.
Daryl Summers was too distraught to appear on camera today, but in a statement said, "I'm devastated at the loss of my beloved friend. He used to say his mission on Hey Hey was to break me up, and at times I'd be crying with uncontrollable laughter. Sadly today, I'm just crying."
Why do you ask two cats?
And Daryl won't mind me saying this. Without John, there was no Hey Hey. That's how important he was.
While TV and radio was his passion, there was no greater love in Blackman's life than his wife Cecile and daughter Tiffany. From selling women's underwear at Myer, John Blackman found his way into radio. At 3AW, his breakfast show with Uncle Roy, aka Bruce Mansfield, was an institution. But in 1986, he stunned the radio world by walking out and joining Kerry Packer's bold and ultimately unsuccessful radio network.
As I was saying before I so rudely interrupted 8 weeks ago, good morning.
Blackman's sudden exit from AW earned the wrath of then stablemate Darren Hinch, who launched a blistering attack on Blackman. The pair, however, would eventually bury the hatchet.
The thing you remember about him was the style and the class he had when he was ill. He just never gave up, and that was fantastic.
With his radio days behind him, Blackman continued as the voice of Hey Hey. The sheer speed of those one-liners put him in a class of his own.
What's up, Dickie? How you doing? What's up, Dickie? Right, yeah. Does your dad know you've got his golfing hat on?
Although Blackman continued to battle cancer, it was a heart attack which led to his death. And in reflecting on a wonderful life, it would only be fair to allow Blackers the last word.
I was very enamoured by, the fact that there's so many people, there's so much love out there.
Tony Jones, 9 News.
And, of course, our very own Livinia Nixon was very close to John, working with him, of course, on Hey Hey. Livinia, what was he like away from the cameras?
Well, he was like what you saw on the camera as well. He was so warm and so kind and such a beautiful person. He really took me under his wing and looked after me. He called me Vinny. He was the only person I would ever let call me Vinny. And he was just so naughty, so cheeky, and I loved it.
And you were telling me he wasn't just a mentor when you worked together. I mean, even decades on, he'd still call you after watching 9 News for a bit of guidance.
Yes, he watched all the time, and, you know, he'd text me and I'd call him as I was driving home, and we'd have a debrief about everything. So I always knew he was watching, taking an interest, caring, and I was so lucky to work with him, but I think I was even luckier to call him a friend.
Beautiful words, Livinia. Thank you very much. We'll see you a bit later on. Well, a 2-year-old boy who drowned in a dam after wandering onto a neighbouring property near Geelong has been remembered as a mischievous, loving toddler. His family is accusing the owners of the vacant block where Luca Huddle died of not maintaining their fences. More from Gillian Lantouris.
An animal lover with an infectious smile. 2-year-old Luca leaves behind his heartbroken mum, grandma and his best mate.
I don't wish this on anyone. Ever. This is just an absolute worst nightmare.
Karen Huddle was feeding her horses when she noticed her only child and dog Poppy were missing around 5:30 last night.
Poppy's come running out, and that's alerted me, seeing Poppy wet.
Police scoured Goulburn Park Drive in Lara, the air wing locating Luca in a dam on private property across the road.
I'm angry at the fact of the fences. I'm angry at the fact of myself. My belief is because the fencing is so poor, I believe he's fallen in.
The wire fence around that home and dam is damaged, leading the single mum to believe the unkempt property, which is vacant and for sale, contributed to her child's death.
They need to be held accountable for how they've let that place run down.
Karen says she's had concerns about this fence ever since she moved into her house about 18 months ago. She's even spent thousands of dollars fixing and upgrading her boundary to keep Lucas safe. An online fundraiser has been set up to support Lucas' family.
It's just devastating. I just can't believe my little buddy's gone.
To parents, just 100% you can't wrap him up in cotton wool. But I tell you now, if I had another one, it'll be very different.
Gillian Lantouris, 9 News.
Another blow for the family of murdered Clunes woman Hannah Maguire. Now a man's been charged with stealing from an online fundraiser organised to support them. Stephanie Anderson joins us. Steph, this will only add to the grief.
Yeah, certainly another really tough thing for them to have to process, Tom, but we've received confirmation today that 26-year-old Lachlan McGanty has been charged with stealing more than $60,000 from a GoFundMe page set up on behalf of Clunes Cricket Club in the wake of 23-year-old Hannah's alleged murder in April. Now, the cash collected was supposed to go to supporting Hannah's parents, Debbie and Glenn, but police have confirmed that the Winter Valley man is accused of stealing a huge portion of it between the period of April 25 and May 8. Now, McGanty is now facing 1 count of theft and he'll have to front Ballarat Magistrates Court on June 20, Tom.
Stephanie Anderson, thank you.
Lawyers for the accused High Country killer have confirmed Greg Lynn will stand up as their sole witness.
The jury today heard listening devices planted inside his home revealed his wife told him the four-wheel drive pictured on a 60 Minutes program looked a lot like his car. Court reporter Emma Johnston.
As this story aired on Channel 9's 60 Minutes...
Tonight, police can reveal that this car and trailer are now the strongest leads in their hunt for clues.
Watching from their living room with the rest of the country was Greg Lynn and his wife Melanie. The couple unaware they were the ones who were being watched after Detective Sergeant Brett Florence admitted they planted listening devices in their home to try and elicit information.
Police have managed to account for every vehicle that left the valley that weekend. Except
these photos aired for the very first time, with Melanie Lynn recorded telling her husband the vehicle really looked like his car and trailer. Then, almost a week later, he was captured coming and going from his house, lugging a gas bottle and sipping on tea before removing the distinctive awning from his vehicle. He was arrested days later and questioned during a marathon interview at the Sale police station, where he drew these sketches, methodically mapping out where Russell Hill and Carol Clay died before leading police to their remains in Victoria's High Country. Prosecutors argue his admissions are a red flag for a double murder, but he maintains it was all a tragic accident. Today's evidence marks the end of the prosecution case, with the defence telling the jury tomorrow they'll call just one witness, the man at the centre of this double murder trial, Greg Lynn himself. Amber Johnston, 9 News.
Reserve Bank Governor Michelle Bullock says she won't hesitate to raise interest rates if inflation doesn't come down. She sounded the warning as new data showed Australia's economic growth has stalled. Here's Charles Croucher.
The Reserve Bank Governor and the words mortgage holders dread.
If it turns out, for example, that inflation starts to go up again, or it's much stickier than we think, we're not getting it down, then we won't hesitate to move and raise interest rates again.
I think it's very clear to us, I don't speak for the bank, but it's very clear to Australians more broadly, that the economy is barely growing.
The Governor confirming the $300 coming off energy bills won't hurt inflation, but also won't speed up a rate cut.
Inflation might have a 2 on it in a headline sense. It might affect people's sort of expectations. We're looking through that to the underlying, the trim mean if you like, and we don't think it's going to have an impact.
There's a whole generation of Australians who've never seen anything like this before.
And with interest rates hitting homeowners, renters and small businesses, tonight Australians are paying more, but giving more and asking for more as well. The latest Australian charity report showing an $11 billion jump in charitable donations, but a $22 billion jump in expenses.
What we're hearing a lot is people who are just struggling to make ends meet. People are reaching out to community service just to take a little bit of pressure off the budget.
We hear a lot about the fact that charities are seeing people come in who they haven't seen before.
Having a job and a strong labour market is the saving grace for so many tonight, but with household budgets set to tighten further, unemployment will inevitably rise.
Is the narrow path narrowing?
It was pretty narrow to begin with, I'd say.
In the second half of the year, our cost of living help arrives, and that will support activity in our economy as well.
Tax cuts are guaranteed, rate cuts are not, and that may be the difference for so many come Christmas. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
The pulse of the economy is the weakest it's been in decades. Finance editor Chris Kohler explains why.
Over the quarter, the economy grew 0.1%. Over the year, 1.1%. That is, not including the pandemic, the weakest rate of growth since the early 90s. After all those interest rate rises, no one wants to spend. If no one wants to spend, then growth grinds to a halt. Still, we were told today things are going to plan.
Are we still on that narrow path?
The board judges that, yes, we still are on that narrow path.
That path to economic recovery is taking Australians to places not seen in a generation. Consumer sentiment data shows that we've only felt this bad for this long in the mid-1970s, early 1990s and now. So whether we're technically in a recession or not, that's the mood of the country while the Reserve Bank and the government decide what to do next.
A house built in the 1800s has been destroyed by fire in Lilydale. The heritage property was fully alight by the time firefighters arrived just after 2 p.m. As locals watched in disbelief, one person was taken to hospital in a stable condition. The cause of the blaze is still unknown.
Medibank is being sued by the privacy watchdog over the cyber breach that compromised the personal details of almost 10 million Australians and the posting of sensitive medical information to the dark web. The Australian Information Commission says the health insurer failed to protect its customers and could be fined around $21 trillion. Important changes to boot fraudsters from the National Disability Insurance Scheme have passed their first hurdle following damning evidence of inappropriate spending.
But disability groups fear the actions of a few risk demonising a program that many now rely on. Eliza Edwards with this report.
Taking a funding fight to Parliament, disability services say they're being shortchanged while fraudsters rip money out of the NDIS.
That's not on for as far as we're concerned, and we will always call it out.
Revelations this week, $2 billion out of the $42 billion scheme is misused on lifestyle expenses.
Examples, just in the last week, a $20,000 holiday, bought a car, brand new, $73,000, rent subsidies, alcohol.
Shonky providers in the frame for exploiting vulnerable participants.
Why has the minister allowed this to happen?
The very reason that we can debate this today is because it takes a Labor government to catch the crooks.
Another step today in overhauling the troubled scheme, a suite of reforms passing the lower house, requiring all providers to be registered.
Oh, we need to weed out the bad actors and we need to do whatever it takes to do that.
The disability community arguing it'll take away their ability to choose.
It is a cynical attempt to undermine disabled people and our families.
Eliza Edwards, 9 News.
A treat for Melbourne's UFC fans this morning with one of the sport's biggest Aussie stars touching down in the CBD. Alexander Volkanovski helped launch a new local calendar of UFC fan experiences, suggesting our city as a potential host for future blockbuster bouts.
My debut was here in Melbourne, actually, so I've been really wanting to come back. Sporting events that happen here in Melbourne are always incredible, so I think we need to get one back here.
Swapping fighting gloves for Chef White's, Volk also showcased his culinary skills in the kitchen. If that's what he wants to do, I'm not going to fight him for it.
Oh, yeah. This meat's tough, unlike you. Go and say that one. I thought I'd test it.
I didn't know how to segue from UFC to you, but you just did it beautifully.
Thanks, Alicia. The Tigers have got more on their minds than selection for tomorrow night. Xander Maguire.
One of Richmond's biggest names is contemplating his future at Punt Road after a rival club came knocking on his door. The details in sport.
Also in sport, why Demon star Stephen May could be in for an icy reception on Monday.
To be honest, we were pretty busy celebrating after September, so we didn't spend too much time on it.
The Western Bulldogs welcome back Libba after a stint in the stands. We're live to Cam Smith for tonight's State of Origin showdown. Plus, no joke, Novak is out of Roland Garros, opening the door for Alex de Minaur. Todd Woodbridge will tell us all about it. Look, if the Volk comes to me, can you just give me a little support?
We're having a late... We've caught on and we're now laughing.
Oh, good. OK, thank you.
Is Volk laughing, though? I think that's going to be the thing we need to know. All right, when Melbourne's 9 News returns, a deportation reprieve for Mockbell associate Kevin Farrugia sparks outrage.
Nigel Farage cops a milkshake to the face as Britain's party leaders face off.
And touching scenes as D-Day veterans are honoured 80 years on.
A convicted criminal with links to drug kingpin Tony Mockbell has avoided deportation, sparking a fight in federal parliament. As Niri Tai reports, pressure is now mounting on the immigration minister, who's promised to reissue his controversial directive later this week.
When it comes to gangland links, Kevin Farrugia is well connected. He cradled Tony Mockbell after he was stabbed in Barwon prison. And now, when he gets released, he's got the OK to stay in Australia.
Have you cancelled his visa?
I have, over the last week, cancelled 35 visas, and there are more under review.
The 51-year-old was due to be sent home to Malta when he's released next year. But a tribunal ruled the father should stay because of his long-standing ties to the country. Pressure has been mounting on the immigration minister after dozens of convicted criminals escaped deportation because of Ministerial Direction 99.
Now, the opposition there failed. He failed. They don't want to hear about this, Speaker. I wonder why not.
Peter Dutton also had the opportunity to cancel this person's visa in 2019, and that did not occur.
Farrugia spent 12 years in prison, convicted more than 40 times, found guilty of kidnapping in 2003. Represented by disgraced lawyer Nicola Gobbo, Farrugia received a suspended sentence for hiding a loaded gun inside a sock in prison. 4 years later, he was caught trafficking pseudoephedrine. More recently, he was jailed after being caught a number of times with guns he shouldn't have had. Farrugia came to Australia at the age of 17 months. Both of his parents and two of his three siblings are all Australian citizens, along with his long-term partner and teenage daughter.
To return him to Malta with no association with that country would make life extremely difficult.
Niri Tai, 9 News.
A man who sexually assaulted a woman in Kyneton remains at large. The victim was walking along Epping Street around 6:30 this morning when she was assaulted by a stranger. Police say the exact circumstances surrounding the incident are yet to be determined. It's been a shaky start to the election campaign for British politician Nigel Farage. The Reform UK party leader copped a banana milkshake to the face outside a pub in Essex. He later used the incident to his advantage.
My milkshake brings all the people to the rally.
There you have it. The moment overshadowed the first TV debate between current PM Rishi Sunak and Labor leader Sir Keir Starmer. A snap poll declared Sunak the winner with 51%.
The criminal trial of President Joe Biden's son Hunter is officially underway. First Lady Jill Biden was front and centre in the Delaware courtroom today. The 54-year-old is facing 3 federal charges, accused of lying about being a drug addict while purchasing a gun in 2018.
British D-Day veterans have made the journey from Portsmouth to Normandy by ferry to mark the 80th anniversary of the battle. They gathered on the deck, cheered by dozens who lined the shoreline before laying wreaths and observing a flyover.
I did my best on D-Day, like other people.
There were more touching moments in Normandy when veterans from the United States were greeted by the French First Lady.
A glimpse today of the extraordinary efforts the Australian Olympic Committee is taking to ensure our team succeeds in Paris. From shipping in air conditioners to baristas, the athletes' village will be a home away from home. Damien Ryan has the story.
With temperatures expected to soar to as high as 40 degrees Celsius,
Olympic athletes could face a tough opponent. Brutal Paris heat. But the Australian team has a plan, installing air conditioners in the rooms of our athletes in the village.
Our priority is providing the high-performance environment for our athletes to be able to go in there and compete.
The organisers preferred curtains and blinds for a sustainable games, but there are no excuses for the not-so-green and gold approach.
This was a decision that was strategic for high performance.
It seems nothing has been left to chance. 460 athletes taking on the world in 33 sports. The team will have its own gym, ice baths, 3 dedicated nutritionists, 2 psychologists, 4 wellbeing officers and 3 baristas. And there'll be a taste of home, Wheat Bix and Vegemite on the menu. The French have bigger challenges, ensuring the famous River Seine is clean enough to swim in.
I feel confident in the organising committee that they won't hold an event that will jeopardise the safety of the athletes.
And then there's the safety of the country, hosting an Olympics at a time of war and unrest in other parts of the world.
They have indicated that the security is top class and they are confident that the French have it covered.
Damien Ryan, 9 News.
Well, warmer weather there. Livinia is with us now. Could have done with a bit of that warmth here.
We could have, Tom. It has been pretty grey. There's a lot of clouds sitting over Victoria at the moment, so it's keeping things gloomy. But the temperature in the city kept climbing into the late afternoon, eventually peaking at 14.7, slightly higher than the June average. The satellite picture shows the cloud over us, but it is clearing from the west as a high-pressure system moves closer. So tomorrow we can expect some brighter weather as that high closes in. But a low-pressure trough is forecast to direct more heavy rain over Sydney, and unfortunately some of that will impact an already soaked East Gippsland. Tom and Alicia.
OK, Livinia, we'll see you a bit later on. Well, coming up for you, hospitals bracing for a long weekend spike in burns cases, a fire alarm for revellers.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi clings to power despite losing his majority.
Plus Aldi getting into the insurance game, what it means for premiums, that's next.
Trains were stopping all stations except Melbourne Central this morning after flooding forced it to close for several hours. The transport hub shut down after water started leaking from the roof. A maintenance team was called in and the station reopened around midday.
An outspoken Springvale chemist has stolen the limelight at an event with Health Minister Mary-Ann Thomas to celebrate a milestone in her community pharmacy trial. Richard Lim seizing the moment to ask for it to be expanded to allow chemists to issue prescriptions.
If the pharmacists have the role of prescribing, even better. Why dentists can prescribe? Why optometrists can prescribe? Why not pharmacists? That's what I want to ask Minister today.
The current trial, due to run until November, has so far helped 10,000 women access the pill, as well as other treatments without needing a GP visit.
It shook up Australia's grocery market and now wants to do the same with insurance. Aldi is gearing up to offer home, car and landlord policies at a time when the industry is under fire for surging premiums. Eddie Meyer with more.
It's been a supermarket disruptor. Now Aldi is taking on the insurance companies that dominate the market.
I would be slightly concerned about this if I was one of the big insurers. The similarities to the grocery space are remarkable. 2 in 3 Australians have their home or car insurance with one of 2 big insurance parent companies.
Aldi will offer home, motoring and landlord policies backed by Honey Insurance and underwritten by RACQ Insurance. Aldi opened its first store in Australia 23 years ago. Coincidentally, insurance premiums are now rising at their fastest rate in those 23 years, up an average 16% annually. After tobacco, insurance is the biggest contributor to inflation. Suncorp, which owns Amy, GIO and Apia, saw its consumer insurance profit surge 534% in 6 months. QBE's annual net profit was up 131%. IAG owns NRMA, CGU, RACV and SGIO. Its profits were up 85% in 6 months. Aldi may not be the cheapest for you. It is, though, promising it won't charge loyal customers more than new ones. But comparing insurance policies and premiums is difficult because the big insurers won't share their data.
We can see all the different energy providers and their pricing. We can see the telcos and their pricing, the banks and their pricing. We can't compare all the insurers across the board on a simple website.
Eddie Meyer, 9 News.
Narendra Modi is set for a third term as India's Prime Minister after claiming victory in the national election. But the 73-year-old's Hindu Nationalist Party fell short of the overwhelming majority that he wanted. Unemployment and the rising cost of living affected the result, along with a stronger than expected showing from his opposition.
Social media platform TikTok has been hit by a cyber attack. Hackers have targeted the accounts of several companies and celebrities. Socialite Paris Hilton, as well as US news broadcaster CNN, are among those impacted.
Workers in Texas had to call in some backup to rescue an alligator out of a ditch on the side of a highway. The almost 4-metre long reptile had to be hoisted out by, yes, that's a garbage truck, and then relocated somewhere a little bit safer.
A Port Arlington tradie who spent 10 days in a coma after suffering burns in his backyard is warning others ahead of the long weekend. As Julia Passarelli explains, doctors have discovered a dangerous spike in these types of incidents on public holidays.
Ryan Burst still bears the scars of drinks around a backyard fire pit that went horribly wrong.
It's something that you never think that's going to happen to you.
The 32-year-old suffered severe burns to 17% of his body and spent 10 days in a coma after pouring petrol on the flames.
Unfortunately, it all splashed back at me and I lit up.
And doctors say Ryan's story is all too common.
We noticed a pattern in our clinical practice that as the public holiday weekends came around, we had a spike in the number of petrol burns coming in.
Burn specialists at the Alfred say the majority of incidents occur in social settings and most are preventable.
Unfortunately, our research shows that over 50% of these injuries, the patients have been using drugs or alcohol and were at least partially intoxicated at the time of their injury.
The new data shows people are 20% more likely to suffer petrol burns on a public holiday, and majority are men in their 20s or 30s. So ahead of the long weekend, the message from the experts is take care around fires and never mix accelerants with flames.
It's just not worth it. It's not worth the risk. It's totally unnecessary.
Julia Passarelli, 9 News.
Still ahead in the news, feeling the burn, an arsonist caught on camera firebombing a local gym.
The Aussie smartphone gadget helping detect skin cancer early.
And the Celebrity Exercise Challenge sparking important conversations about mental health. Two arsonists remain on the run after firebombing a popular martial arts gym at Wendouree in Ballarat. They forced their way into the building around 3 a.m. on Saturday, pouring petrol around the front reception area and car park before setting it on fire. The men fled on foot and headed east on Howard Street. No one was inside at the time.
A smartphone tool pioneered by Australian eye experts is being tested as a way to measure early damage caused by the sun. As Gabriella Rogers discovered, the pocket-sized device has the potential to flag the risk of developing skin cancer.
It's a gadget designed to make smartphones capable of measuring sun-related damage. Peter Phillips is helping to validate the tool, having spent much of his life outdoors, surfing and on the job as a greenkeeper. It eventually took a toll with surgeries to remove melanomas and fix eye damage.
Just taking a lot of precautions when I'm outdoors now, as much as possible. Hat, sunglasses.
But experts are pushing for an earlier warning system with the help of this. The special camera clips onto the smartphone and the image of the eye is analysed by an app to measure the amount of UV damage. Experts are testing whether the pocket-sized prototype is as effective as this desktop machine, also invented by the same team.
It would develop this as a biomarker for sun exposure.
And that biomarker could be used as an early warning for skin cancer after an Australian ophthalmologist documented the link to fleshy, non-cancerous growths on the eye's surface called a pterygium.
He had lots of people with pterygium and he noticed that they got their pterygium in their late teens and the skin cancer 10 years later.
100 study participants will be recruited thanks to seed funding.
It comes from our generous community of donors through philanthropy, fundraising activities.
Australia has some of the highest levels of UV radiation in the world. Experts say a simple and effective way of identifying people at greater risk of UV-related disease is urgently needed.
So they can take more precautions of their skin, get themselves checked.
Gabriella Rogers, 9 News.
Today's economic news nudged the share market higher. Chris Kohler has the details.
The share market rose today while everyone wrapped their heads around the GDP figures. The data came in weaker than expected, but economists say it won't move the dial much for the RBA. Most still think the next move for interest rates will be down. Telstra and CSL stood out on the market, both rising around 1.4%, while mining companies struggled as the price of iron ore fell to 2-month lows following weak economic news out of China and the US over the last few days. And the Australian dollar lifted after the GDP data was released. Tonight, one Aussie is buying 66.5 US cents, 61 euro cents and 52 British pence.
Jumping off the screen and into our wallets, Bluey fans can now get their hands on their very own dollar bucks. Australia's favourite Blue Heeler family is being immortalised in a special collection of colourful coins. And there's a hidden detail that only real fans will know. Coins are expected to be so popular, the Royal Australian Mint has opened an online ballot ahead of their release tomorrow.
Well, push-ups aren't for everyone, but everyone can take part in this year's push-up challenge. Alan Rascal tells us the show of physical strength is helping support mental health awareness.
Step up and push up. Celebrity chef Shane D'Elia taking part in the 2024 Push-Up Challenge. How have you been preparing?
I haven't been preparing. I don't know, I just lunge myself into it and see how I go.
A lot of familiar faces are pushing up, the challenge aiming to start conversations about and raise awareness of mental health. Entertainer extraordinaire Rob Mills is another flexing his muscles.
The training is going okay. It's very hard to train in winter for a lot of people, so this is a really good kick up the bum. We'll often do most of our training towards towards summer.
It started in 2017. This year's challenge, 3,249 push-ups in 24 days. And why that many?
3,249 push-ups is significant, as it represents the number of Australians who took their own lives last measured year.
Money raised goes to charities like Lifeline, which can be reached on 131114 if you need help. If you or a group of friends or colleagues would like to take part, head to the website.
I'm letting you know I'm with you. OK, we'll do this together.
And if push-ups aren't your thing, you can still take part in the challenge, doing things like lunges, squats and even sit-ups. So why not take part? It'll be good for your physical and mental health. Isn't that right, Shane?
Get to it.
Alan Rascal, 9 News.
Very good indeed. All right, Tony's back now with all of tonight's sport.
Thank you, Alicia. Coming up tonight, a Star Tiger weighing up his future at Punt Road. We'll have those exclusive details next. Also, don't be fooled by the ice. Things are heating up between King's birthday rivals Collingwood and Melbourne. We'll catch up with a Queensland legend ahead of tonight's State of Origin 1. And can the Demon roll on at Roland Garros? We'll get the verdict from Todd Woodbridge.
Intuitive, capable, and above all, intelligent. The Ford Escape is fearlessly designed and makes every day effortless.
Melbourne captain Max Gawn is conceding that he is concerned about the club's culture after another heavy defeat. The Demons will look to turn things around against Collingwood on Monday. but they could be in for an icy reception from the Premiers. Xander Maguire explains.
It's become the heartwarming trademark of the King's Birthday clash. But when it comes to Collingwood and Melbourne in 2024, it's not just the water that feels a little icy, particularly as the D's recover from another shock loss.
If we dig down and look at our culture and our last 5 years, we don't think is us. But when you have 3 in 6 weeks, maybe it is.
It will be Braden Maynard's first game against the D's since the infamous bump that ultimately led to the end of Angus Brayshaw's career. But Gawn says things won't be personal on Monday.
We want to make sure we get one back on them, but to take any personal battles out there certainly wouldn't be the case.
As for Stephen May's contention at the best and fairest, that Melbourne were a better side than the Pies and should have smoked them in the finals.
To be honest, we were pretty busy celebrating after September, so we didn't spend too much time on it.
Still, there's one man who brings these famous rivals together time and time again, and Neil Danaher has been back at both clubs this week, sharing his wisdom.
You can't get anywhere with selfish people. When all is said and done, when all is said is done, more is said than done. The mark of the man is not what he says, what he does. Did I get that right? I think I got it right.
Absolutely nailed it.
For Melbourne, it's poor form, while Collingwood will continue to experiment due to an injury crisis. It might even see the skipper move into the middle.
Let's go. All right, let's go head to head. First set of outs. Sounds great.
Regardless, it's an occasion that always brings out the best of both sides, on and off the field. To a developing story tonight, where I can tell you that Fremantle is planning a stunning trade raid on Richmond. Despite being contracted until the end of 2028, the Dockers have launched a bid to recruit Shea Bolton. I understand the 25-year-old West Australian, who is arguably the face of Richmond's rebuild, is weighing up the advance. It comes as the Dockers also pursue Liam Baker. Key to this ambition is Fremantle's draft hand. They have Collingwood and Port Adelaide's first-round picks, along with their own. All of this as Bolton returns to the side from a concussion ahead of tomorrow night's clash with Adelaide, alongside Dion Prestia and Tim Taranto. Tony?
All right, good work, Xander Maguire there. Can we have a glass of water for Tiger fan Tom Steinfort, please? He's just fallen off his chair, I think. The Western Bulldogs have told Tom Liberatore he needs to do things a little differently when he returns against Brisbane. Libba has been concussed twice this season, prompting the Dogs to make changes to his game.
You see the commitment and the head-first stuff. We want him to do it a little bit differently. Instincts kick in, he may not be able to. He understands that we're trying to help him when he's in those situations and those circumstances.
Ed Richards has been ruled out of Friday night's clash. He'll miss a second game because of concussion. Well, Billy Slater will lead Queensland into battle against New South Wales in Game 1 of Rugby League State of Origin tonight. The great Cam Smith joins us now from our newsroom. And Cam, it's pretty hard to split these two.
Yeah, well, it is, TJ. It's been a big build-up, of course. A lot of things happening down here in the Blues camp in New South Wales. Nico Hines, there was a lot of doubt around him early on with his calf injury that he took into the camp. And then, obviously, the late inclusion of James Tedesco coming into play fullback. Tedesco was, of course, the captain and played 22 matches for the New South Wales side and has been brilliant throughout his career. So a little bit happening, a few changes for New South Wales, but been very quiet in the Queensland camp. Harry Grant, the dummy half, and of course Melbourne Storm dummy half. He was a little bit ill early in the start of the build-up, but apart from that, it's been smooth sailing. So Billy Slater, he'd be happy with the build-up. And look, two very good sides. I think they'll play very different styles of football, but I've got the Queenslanders coming out on top tonight just.
All right, terrific stuff. Have you forgotten something, Cam?
Cameron Smith, 9 News.
All right, good work, mate. Thanks for that. Well, a massive night also for Alex de Minaur at Roland Garros, where he has the chance to secure a semi-final spot. Todd Woodbridge has this preview.
It's a huge opportunity for Alex de Minaur tonight as he takes on Alexander Zverev for a place in the semi-final. He's already equalled a career best by reaching the quarters at a Grand Slam, but he has a big opportunity to win. They've played twice this year. He beat Zverev at the United Cup here in Australia, but he's also played the best clay court season of his career. Zverev is coming off 2 5-setters, so he's fatigued, and the opportunity awaits potentially to even go further because Casper Ruud's through to the semis courtesy of the default of Novak Djokovic. He's had to withdraw because of a torn meniscus in the knee. Novak's going to lose the #1 ranking. He will also be in trouble for playing at Wimbledon, and the one trophy that he doesn't have in the cabinet is an Olympic gold medal. That is also in doubt. But tonight, it's all about the Demon and whether he can secure a place in the Roland Garros semi-final.
Great stuff. Todd Woodbridge there, and I think an Olympic gold was on that shelf as well. When I say Cam Smith from our newsroom, he thinks he's like a reporter. So that's why I say he's from the newsroom.
He's got a bright future.
He has.
Good on you, Tony. Thank you. Time to check back in with Lavinia, and we've got some brighter days coming.
Oh, we do, Tom. We'll have blue skies tomorrow as that cloud breaks up, and that will give the temperature a boost as well. I'll have all the details next.
Switch on a Daikin Alira X split system with advanced streamer technology to remove more than 99% of harmful indoor air pollutants and surround yourself with cleaner air this summer. Daikin, perfecting the air.
Hello again. Despite the cloudy skies, the city managed to get a little warmer than the June average, peaking at 14.7 late this afternoon. It's currently sitting on 11.5. The cloud kept overnight minimums above average around Melbourne, especially in Rosebud. It only dipped to 11 degrees. Then this afternoon, Ferny Creek reached 10 degrees, but most suburbs peaked at 14 or 15 and up to 16 southwest of the city at Avalon and also Geelong. Stayed above zero in all but alpine areas last night, and although western and northern districts were still a little chilly, dropping to 3 and 4 degrees, it was a mild night through the far east with minimums of 9 and 11. So Malakuta had a head start and went on to be one of the warmest locations in the state, peaking at 16 this afternoon. A high pressure system is keeping most of the country dry today, but there's been shower activity through the east, although generally less than 10 millimetres. That will change tomorrow though. A coastal trough will deepen. It's expected to send some very heavy rain across Sydney. It's already had more than 140 millimetres this month. In the southwest of the country, another cold front will move in, so there'll be more wet weather for Perth as well. Up to 25 millimetres of rain there tomorrow, but staying mild, a top of 23 degrees. A lovely day for Adelaide, partly cloudy and 18. A cloudy top of 15 for Hobart, quite mild for this time of year. Canberra is also heading for 15, but it'll be showery up to 10 millimetres. Heavier, as I said, in Sydney, up to 45 millimetres and a top of 18. But sunny skies for Brisbane. It should warm up to 23 degrees. Back home, overnight minimums will be around the June average for most spots and a forecast to stay in double figures through the far east, but showers will return to that part of the state. Nothing too heavy tomorrow, up to 10 millimetres at Orbost and Malakuta, but they are expected to be heavier on Friday and Saturday. There'll be partly cloudy skies through the south. It should reach 16 or 17. Sunny through the north, so a little warmer, up to 19. Overnight minimums will be around average across Melbourne as well, down to 8 degrees at Moorabbin and Frankston. Then under partly cloudy skies, it'll be 2 or 3 degrees warmer than today, with forecast maximums of 16 and 17. Geelong will also get some winter sunshine tomorrow, a low of 9 and a top of 17. The city's heading down to 8 degrees, then should also peak at 17. More breaks of sunshine on Friday and 16 degrees, 15 on Saturday with a late shower. Light showers will linger Sunday morning, 15 again. Back to 14 on Monday for the King's birthday holiday. Tuesday could be a bit nasty. Showers will return. It'll also become quite windy, a top of 14 again. More showers and 14 next Wednesday. But tomorrow we'll enjoy some winter sunshine. After a low of 8, we'll have a partly cloudy day with light winds and a top of 17 degrees. And we'll take that at this time of the year.
We certainly will, Livinia. Thank you very much for that. And that is 9 News this Wednesday. 9's live and exclusive coverage of State of Origin 1 is up next.
I hope you have a great evening. For now, though, it's good night.